Good evening, everyone. My name is Heidi Turner, and the title of my Icebreaker speech is For the Love of Research. I thought a lot about the term icebreaker in preparation for this evening. The term originates way back to first century days when pioneers first recorded their efforts to create passages through ice with ships. Many centuries later, the literal meaning of icebreaker would give way to a more figurative translation to describe the easing of tension in business or social situations. In fact, a home group I attend bi-monthly begins each meeting with an icebreaker in order to initiate the flow of conversation. That might seem like a really nerdy way to introduce myself and provide you a glimpse into the window of my life. The first thing I will share with you about me, while certainly not the most important, is that I am an avid researcher. The moment a subject or topic sparks my interest, I find myself becoming nearly obsessively passionate about learning everything I can about the subject. This personality quirk has at times been very costly to me in relationships, but more often than not, it has served me well. I could tell you so much about my life experiences over the past 50 years. I could tell you about growing up in the Marine Corps and moving every 2 to 3 years. I could tell you about the trauma I experienced through domestic violence and how I learned to break free from decades of shame, silence, and broken bones. I could speak to you about the joys of motherhood and becoming a grandparent and all the challenges I've faced and triumphant victories I've seen through those loves of my life. I can tell you the story of my nearly 30 years as a real estate professional, instructor, mentor, and coach. But none of these experiences, individually or collectively, could speak louder about who I am than my love for research. You see, my heart and soul's passion for a continual gain of insight is what led me to the knowledge of Jesus Christ. I was raised in church. I was surrounded by people who talked about going to heaven or hell, doing right or wrong, do this, not that. And I was brought up with the understanding that religion was just a part of life you weren't supposed to question. I always found reading the Bible to be boring because none of it made sense to me as a young person. So many people spoke words and quoted out of context that didn't seem to coincide with what I was actually reading. So at the ripe old age of 25, I decided to walk away from church and religion altogether with an arrogant belief that I could have a relationship with God all on my own. Over the course of the next decade or so, my passion for research was consumed by the real estate market and all things real estate related. There were tools at my fingertips that lit up every part of my brain with excitement for new knowledge. I would put my kids to bed and stay up until the wee hours of the morning sometimes, developing a skill set that exceeded my peers. And I was proud of it. An unexpected new chapter in my life unfolded when I encountered a client at a listing appointment. This couple had a home to sell, and the numbers they had in mind did not align with what the current market conditions would likely respond to. They declared and proclaimed that they were believing in faith for what God told them they would receive. And I internally rolled my eyes and scoffed at their naivety. To make a very long story short, my 45-minute long listing appointment, which is usually what I allotted for, turned into a 4-hour spiritual awakening that ended in me snot crying at their dining room table as they prayed blessings over my life. I didn't know where they went to church, but I wanted to be there. I began attending their church, which today is my own, before the house ever went under contract. The people there were different. The message was different. There seemed to be a knowing that the pastor had to the insights of my life, even though we had never spoken in person. It was like he was reading my mail. I wanted more of this, but also my rational brain wanted answers, not just a feeling. And so the obsessive research began. I read every book, listened to every sermon I could get my hands on, cross checked and cross referenced, and dove into the Greek and Hebrew translations. And for the first time in my life, the boring parts of the Bible came alive as I studied ancient history. I studied prophecy and mathematical statistics. And then one day, it all made sense to me. There was no denying Jesus. Even though I had always accepted what my mom and grandma taught me about Jesus was true, because I didn't perceive them to be liars, it was my passion for research that sealed the truth in my heart through a revelatory knowledge. And that sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? Revelatory knowledge comes directly through divine insight. I believe that God knows specifically how to reach all of us who are willing and open to hear from Him. And God knew just how to reach me through the studying of His Word and the history of His love and His presence. I am still to this day an avid researcher. My friends often pick on me because I have a lot of seemingly useless knowledge up here that stems from weeks of deep diving study on a subject I decided to obsess about. My gratitude for this gift of such an odd personality quirk that makes up a large part of who I am is immeasurable, because it ultimately led me to the knowledge that I am a daughter of the Most High God through Jesus Christ, who is the foundation of my entire life. I am a new creation in Him. I have since learned not to rely just on my research, but also to rely on the Holy Spirit who lives within me. And oh, that family I met with over 16 years ago, their home sold for exactly what God told them it would. And I have been infinitely blessed because of them.